Welcome back, everybody, to another 0 Point Reviews. This time we're talking 1981's Friday the 13th, Part 2. And we're off to a rousing start for Jason Voorhees month. Hope you are too.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Jeff?
The day you count on for terror is not over. Friday the 13th, Part 2, rated R.
The blackest eyes, the devil's eyes.
You will suffer an eternity for this.
And welcome back to 0 Point Reviews. Brand new intro, everybody. We're kicking it off in style this time. Good, Bad, Ugly, Friday the 13th, Part 2. It's our first introduction to Jason properly. Kevin, what's your first memory of this bad boy before we get into the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Oh, gosh. I don't even remember. I know I saw this at some point in the 80s, like probably around 88 or so. But I just don't remember seeing this when I was little. I very vividly remember seeing the first one.
Yeah, right.
And being disappointed.
There's no Jason. But it's the small boy.
The boy in the water, in the lake.
But where's the boy?
You do that too well. Gosh, so I think I probably really cognizantly remember watching this probably my late teens, early 20s when it came out on DVD then. But never really paid close attention to it like I did this last time. And I don't know why.
Yeah, for me, I gotta say VHS tape days, definitely from the video store. Never really saw this one like on TV. And I'd probably say, mid to late 80s myself for this one. Probably closer to, I want to say 88, 87, somewhere kind of around in there. And I remember liking it. This isn't like one of my absolute favorites of the franchise. I like this one just fine, so don't get that wrong. I have certain love for certain other sequels, and we'll be getting into some of those on this round of 0 Point Reviews on our September schedule. But, I got this on so many different variations. I have a VHS tape, I got a DVD, I got another DVD, I got a couple Blu-rays. I'm pretty happy, and eventually it's going to hit 4K, so I will probably be buying it because I'm a sucker for Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I want to say I'm not, but I really am. I'm a Freddy and Jason baby.
Yeah. And this was from the Scream Factory set. I just put it in a black case. So it's not a 4K, everybody. Don't think that.
I want to say Scream Studios, but no, I think it is still Scream Factory. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or is it just Scream now?
Ooh, I don't know. The way they're charging people these days, I think everybody's screaming with their wallets. So, Kevin, let's hit the good.
The good. So we always say a movie is always good as its villain. And in this particular case, we have Ginny. But wait, Ginny's the final girl who kills the guy that you paid to see kill other people. So I guess in this regard, I like to think of the final girls as the villain of the movies. And gosh, Ginny was so good in this. I really liked her.
Amy was fantastic. She actually stood out the most in this movie as one of the best things about it very easily. And she didn't have to do a whole lot other than just be a normal person and not stupid for half the movie. So you automatically score points when you're not being stupid. And she actually did a very good job acting, because in this movie, I actually would say the acting is actually pretty decent for the most part for most of the cast. There's not too much I would say that was bad about the acting, to be honest.
No.
Everybody seemed to fit their roles pretty well, as small or as big of a role as they had. I mean, I even like Paul. Paul was fine.
For a camp counselor douche.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's always got to be at least 2 or 3 of them.
Yes. Yeah. No, I liked Paul. Like his intro where he's like taking roll call had me fucking laughing. Hey, Scott, good to see you. Nice to have you here. You need it. And it's like, ha, he made fun of you.
Zingers.
And I was like, wait a second, that guy Scott looks familiar. And then I looked it up. It's like, oh wait, that's right. He was in Chopping Mall.
Yes. Could
Never forget. Never forget. So, and then he had that amazing shot with the slingshot. So Scott was on my radar. I didn't necessarily want him to die, but I wanted everybody to die in this movie.
Yeah, just about everybody I wanted dead in this movie got off, except for maybe Alice at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, golly. This was a different time. Like,
yes.
An actor could come back and reprise their role for 5 minutes and get killed off and not be upset about it. Like, the last person I saw do that was Sarah Michelle Gellar. Not Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah, actually, that was her in The Grudge 2. She's in it for like 5 minutes.
Oh, I never saw that one, so I actually don't know that.
Spoiler. Sorry. Yes, she's in it very, very briefly. And I want to say, like, hands the torch off to Amber Tamblyn, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't necessarily good. It didn't make as much sense as, say, this did. Like, this kind of makes sense where you feel like you're actually watching, like, what happens next from watching the previous movie, because there's your final girl, there's your heroine. She's fine. She's starting to cope, albeit by herself.
Yes.
And she's giving you the exposition of what you missed in the last movie, if you didn't see it. And it was just really refreshing to see Alice briefly.
Yeah, I did appreciate the fact they gave it a nice bit of a recap. So it did feel like we're going from part 1 to part 2 in a relatively smooth, easy transition. And, you know, it's too bad she wasn't around for much more, but she did make a final appearance in the last few minutes, not as the wonderful actress, but as the decomposed body underneath Pamela's head next to Terry and the police officer.
I had never, ever caught that before.
You mean this shot? All you gotta do is look down and to the left. She's still got the skewer in her face.
All I see is Terry's boobs. I still don't see her there. Like, I see boobs.
Hey, give that woman her money. She earned it.
True. And it is nice that this is kind of one of those things where a horror franchise becomes a family eventually. Like, all the victims have reunions and shit at cons.
Oh yeah.
So, and I think Adrian King definitely had that chemistry with this cast going forward, and they all do in real life. But for as sad as it was to see her go, I like Jenny as a character more.
Yes, I agree.
She's less innocent in a way. She's much smarter. They talk about it in the movie that she's taking college courses in child psychology, which enables her to figure Jason out while she's drinking at the bar. And I was kind of like, oh, I never really kind of caught that before either. Like, she's sitting here drinking her ass off, and she's like, what if he's still alive? Like, you have to think about shit from his point of view. And you're just kind of like, yeah, why don't we think about shit from his point of view?
And he loved his mother.
Loves his mother. She just killed for him. What would you do? I'd fucking smoke.
I don't know. Fuck, man, fuck shit up.
Bitches. Santana DBX. Yeah. But it was cool, and she figures out how to beat Jason at the end by becoming Pamela, which is one of the coolest fucking scenes in horror history that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
For me personally, I thought that was one of the craftiest things ever.
She takes what would considered be like, you wouldn't think it would totally be his weakness, but it totally is. It's not like water in Freddy versus Jason. Sorry, I'm gonna say that. I'm afraid of water now. Yet in any of the other movies, it never phased him once.
Not once. He walks right through that fucking lake. Comes out the other side.
Well, and smartly, anybody who's played the Friday the 13th, the video game that was on like PS3, PS4, you know, I think mostly PS4 of that generation, they actually use this as a concept on how you actually kill Jason in the game. You have to get to the cabin, you have to get the sweater, somebody's got to have the machete, and you basically get that literally from this movie. Now, that's not exactly how they kill Jason, but that's how they co-opted it in the game and made it a very special order of events that need to happen to do it. One of those is getting the sweater and getting the machete.
Yeah, and I got a picture of it here where you do see her like commanding Jason when he's not listening at first. Like, you listen to mother. Okay.
It's like, yes, ma'am.
My bad. Please don't stick that Q-tip in my ear again. Oh,
yep, please don't do that. I'm holding a pitchfork. I'm sorry, Mama.
I'm sorry, Mama. So, you know, it was really cool. I liked what they did with her. I liked how smart she was, that she was the one that saves her boyfriend, even though he's constantly trying to save her.
Yeah. They end up working well together in order to like deal with that. But Paul doesn't really do all that much help. He kind of creates situations to make them a little bit worse before they get better.
Yes.
Sorry, Paul.
He reminds me of Cal from This Island Earth on Mystery Science Theater, the movie, where Ruth saves herself from the mutant and he comes running after her. And I think it's Crow or it's Servo goes, my, thank God I saved you. It's like she just saved herself.
Way to go, Paul.
Thank God I saved
you. You could do it, buddy. But no, she's got a great character arc in this, and she's not in this movie as much as you think she is. She's there when she needs to be, and when the story actually needs her, and to push the narrative forward or to move her character forward. And it works in conjunction with the rest of the movie. And less is always more with Jason. You would think Jason's in this a lot more than he really is, and less is more, everybody. That always works very well in horror.
Yes. Kind of like Pamela. You didn't see her until the very, very ending.
Which was dope.
Yeah, and then she was very unassuming for most of that. The final fight scene takes, what, 90 seconds?
Pretty much.
Before she gets her head cut off. It's, you know, it wasn't that long, but the suspense leading up to it was killing you the whole time.
Exactly.
So, and in this, the movie feels tonally very much like the first.
Yes, it does, actually.
One of the things I was telling my wife is I enjoy this one because I like the style of the 70s and 80s slasher movies.
Yes, it very much feels like a product of its time in the very best way possible.
Yeah, like it's not 80s cheese. It's not
we'll get to that soon enough.
It's not what am I thinking? Halloween 5.
Oh God.
There where
you invoke that name, you bastard.
You
are not wrong.
Rachel's dumb friend that's like so 80s and party that I can't do anything rational. You're just kind of like, please kill her, God, if you were ever good, kill her. There's not a whole lot of people that you can't wait for to die in this, say like Franklin in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but there's nobody that you feel bad that gets killed for the most part.
Yeah, and some of the death scenes are actually pretty rad, but we'll get to a little bit more on that soon enough.
Oh wait, that's not the picture. I already showed that one. Where is it? Did I actually get the picture? Riveting podcasting, and I didn't. It didn't transfer over. Son of a bitch.
Well, describe it for everybody, Kevin.
Oh wait, I did. It's the bad picture. Never mind. We'll get there later.
We'll get to that soon enough.
Somebody dies in the movie where I'm kind of like, really? There's a whole legacy here for that character.
Total legacy.
Anyway,
I'm not going to bury the bone on that one.
No, but the kill scenes in this were all pretty good. They were all, I'd say, comparable to the first in a way, just without being as graphic. It was toned down a little bit, I could tell. like there wasn't as much spatter.
Yeah, they pulled back a bit, and there are deleted scenes, everybody, especially if you get the Scream Factory box set. Not trying to shill for them, but like it is a great box set, and it's got some great extras on it, including the uncut footage for some of the deaths,
which hopefully have nipples, because they cut out a lot of boobies in this movie. They told you that there was boobies. They showed you there was boobies, but they didn't show you the boobies.
They showed you boobies in this movie.
From a distance, like 20 feet away. I have to use my imagination.
Get some binoculars or a magnifying glass.
I've got an 80-inch TV.
Well, get closer.
I can't. My wife would be yelling at me.
What you doing up that close to the Kevin?
Trying to smell.
Sniffing swimsuits, Kevin. Smells like that one got into the onion patch.
Such a better joke. Anyway, you fixed that. Thank you so much.
Dude, you are so welcome. At least this movie has a pretty decent sized body count in it too, as compared to the first one. It's pretty comparable. But my wife and I actually watched something today that has a better body count than this. And can you guess what that is, Kevin?
Black Sheep?
Sailor Moon Cosmos.
Huh.
Animated features that just came onto Netflix. They have a higher body count than this. They're not nearly as graphic. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people were dying like really quick and very fast, and it was a lot of them.
Fair enough. The body count wasn't terribly high in this movie.
No, it was on par with the first one, but as we get to the next sequels, the body count really starts ratcheting up.
Yes. Well, that's when Paramount started figuring out the trend that people are going to see the kills. They want to see the creativity. And then they had to start fucking competing with Freddy Krueger, you know.
And Halloween a bit.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
Yeah, because, you know, Halloween came out 78, and then this one's out in 81, and we're about to get Halloween 2 in, what was that, 82?
81 or
82. So somewhere, something like that. But,
yeah,
you know, they're kind of competing with each other, and there are some shots in this movie that oddly feel like we're watching a little bit of a Michael Myers scene out of the very first Halloween movie. Yeah, so there's a couple of shots that I'm like, yeah, I think I know where they got this one from. And it's fine. It's not a complete ripoff, but it's like, you can kind of tell, oh, that's a Michael Myers thing, not a Jason thing. Because they promptly ditch some of that stuff, starting with 3, and never come back to it ever again.
Oh, yes. Like the butcher knife.
Yes. And the slow movie, I'm coming to get you. Whereas we find out starting in part 3, he starts coming full charge, full speed at motherfuckers, and that's what works best for Jason. He cannot be the same type of character and killing machine, and he's not.
No, he isn't. And they give him substance in this movie that they take away later on. And I think that's why I liked this version of Jason so much. But goddamn, do I love that lumbering great white shark that fucking just plows through everything.
God, yeah, I know, right? Me too. Now, what do you think about the mask, ideally? Do you like this versus the hockey mask that we get in part 3?
So, okay.
Somebody had to ask that, and anybody watching is probably going to be like, well, you guys never talked about the mask.
I don't care for it as much. Like, why doesn't it have 2 holes? Is the other eye dead? We don't know. Maybe.
Could be.
But he's working with what he's got. I get it. It works. There's nothing wrong with it. But the hockey mask became iconic. And that was a product of its time for how the 80s were evolving. This is just fine. It really is just fine. If you watch the special features to part 9, Joe Bob has a really good fucking, albeit not requotable fucking quote, where he's talking about the villain of the first movie is Betsy Palmer. He says, no, you don't see Jason, the real villain, the Mongoloid baby, of Betsy Palmer until the second movie. It's like, oh, JB, you can't say Mongoloid. Which they
Cancel
call him,
alert.
yeah, which I'm like explaining to my wife when Jenny's in the bar getting drunk. So what would would he just be like, a retarded guy, a boy in a man's body? Like he wouldn't know? It's like, you can't say that. And my wife's yelling at me, don't say that.
Well, too late.
Like, she was being clinical. It was 1981. He had chromosomes.
Welcome to the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. Words like retarded were meant poorly and used poorly, but we
all
didn't have
did it back then.
We didn't have proper euphemisms to like be like, you know what, that's a much better description.
That's true. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the mask is fine. They only used it once. They never come back to it again. If they came back to it multiple times, they'd be like, that's not really all that iconic wearing a potato sack over your head. So, I mean, he's a bit more, it makes him look a bit more redneck hillbilly. Whereas when you get the hockey mask, you get something a little more menacing and sinister going on. You see this and you're just like, who the fuck is this nut job? It doesn't exactly strike fear. You see the weapon and you see the body and the presence and you're like, this is bad. But you take one look at that head and you're like, okay, who the fuck are you?
Had they not taken that sack off, this could have had a completely different feel to it.
Yeah.
It really could have. It could have been more like a The Hills Have Eyes or Deliverance type picture where it's fucking weird ass rednecks out in the boondocks or out in the fucking Appalachians or whatever, you know.
Yep. But nope, we're in Camp Crystal Lake in New Jersey.
You know, and that was another thing that I think I really appreciated about this film was that it did not take place at Camp Blood. I don't remember that at all. I always thought like, okay, this is the next group trying to reopen the camp. Because it's always like, for the first 4 films, it's always somebody trying to reopen the camp. Or the first 3 movies, I think. So this one wasn't that. It was just another camp on the other side of the lake or around the lake that wasn't so far away. Which you're like, wow, okay, you don't really see that much more in the movies until you get to say Never Hike Alone.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I think really made me fall in love with that picture was like, there are so many other spots that Jason goes around the lake.
Yes, and they actually get into that in like the video game as well, where you get like the different maps. So you get like the different areas where it's familiar to the movies and what you're seeing in the video game, depending on which map generates or whichever one you select.
Yeah.
And like there's the Packanack Lodge map is fan-fucking-tastic in the game. It actually, I was watching the movie as it was going along and I'm like, detail work was on point for that video game when it came to the maps. So I very much appreciated seeing like, hey, I know that. And it's not from seeing this movie. It's from playing that game for way too many fucking hours.
The shower's that away. The house is really nice. Like the exterior of the house, even by today's standards, it's like, fuck, I'd pay for that.
Yeah, no shit.
It was really nice. And the lodges in the first movie were nice. This lodge is like a whole nother level.
Yeah, this is really rad. I love the settings in this movie. All the sets, everything that they were working with was totally practical. What they were working in was absolutely wonderful. They made the best use of all the lighting and sound. Like, this is a really well-made movie put together. Yeah, the sound design could be better. Yes, some of the Foley work could be a little bit better. But what we got out of this movie worked so well with what budget they had. Like, it's hard to actually say, like, that's actually bad. It's actually not. It's actually really well done.
Yeah, no, there's not a whole lot to this movie that's bad.
I got a couple things, but we'll get to there soon.
I get the people that love Jason Voorhees, the image of Jason in the hockey mask, the big lumbering zombie mutant killer, whatever.
Yeah.
Not liking the first 2 movies as much as say 3 going on, or 3 to 10, 3 to 11, whatever we're at now.
Right.
Anyway, but there is still so much that you need to watch the first two movies for, because they are a spirit unto themselves. They're made differently. They begin the mythology, and everything grows from there up until, say, like part 4, and then things change.
Yeah, especially after part 4, it gets a bit off the freaking beaten path. 5 is completely different and separate sort of story. 6 is where it kind of picks back up with Tommy, and chef's kiss on that bad boy. But like, you can easily watch 1 through 4, and there is a bit of a through line, so you do feel like it's a pretty straightforward narrative structure until they start getting a little bit on the wilder side.
Yeah. But this really made you, movies like this made you have like second thoughts about going camping or being a counselor at a camp. It was so cool. But at the same time, it also tempted you to do that too.
Yeah. Well, and I live not too far away from Crystal Lake, Illinois at one time in my life. So I would always hear like, hey, Crystal Lake this, Crystal Lake that. And I'd always be like, Jason? Oh, shit. And that was as a kid. But as growing up, it's like, no, that's pretty rad. But like, then you find out like the Crystal Lake for this movie is literally in New Jersey. So it's like, okay, well, there's Crystal Lakes everywhere. You can use, it's like the Elm Street. Every town's got an Elm Street, and most states have a Crystal Lake of some sort.
Kind of like Springfield,
Yeah.
even though we all know that's Springfield, Oregon.
Correct.
That's where Matt Groening's from.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But no, this movie is actually quite a bit of fun, and that'd be one of my last great things to say about this movie is it's so much fun. To just sit back, relax. It's an hour and a half. It's an easy peasy runtime. Not too much going on. It's not too complicated. It's not too simple. There's enough sprinkles here and there, and it's just good fun time.
It is. It's a good fun time that you don't necessarily, you can't wait for this movie. This isn't one of those flicks like where I complain about where it's like I'm constantly looking at how much time is left.
Yeah, I know, right?
There's not a whole lot of time to this movie, which I'll repeat later on in the next segment, but it goes by fast. The third act goes by fast. You want it to go on a little bit longer because you're having fun with it. The suspense is fun.
Yes.
People are going to end up getting killed, but you're not sure how or when. There's a scene where the sheriff goes running after Jason. He sees somebody just dart across the woods, and he's going to go after them for no reason, but he's going to go after them.
Poor guy needed to lay off the donuts.
It was so funny.
Even like about every 5 seconds, I was like, hey, good touch.
But he goes running after Jason, and this chase scene goes on for almost 5 minutes. And this poor fat cop, like you said, he's stopping at every puddle, every rock that he's got to hop over before he hops over it. I had pork.
Oh, that was a hell of a lunch this morning.
And then he eventually gets clocked in the back of the head by the business end of a hammer. Totally cool.
Pretty fun kill too. And that's one of those extended scenes that you actually get more out of that scene too.
Oh, that's cool. But see, like I'm sitting there writing like, is this chase scene going on too long? And no, it really didn't, because you knew he was going to die. You just weren't sure at which point.
Oh, yeah.
And so it just kind of built up that suspense. And you were also kind of laughing at, Fatty McGee having a fucking heart attack.
Oh, I know, right?
As I was having an asthma attack watching him have the heart attack.
I think we all were.
I don't run through the forest anymore. I gave that shit up at fucking 18.
Yeah, I think most of us did.
Question, though, speaking of doing dumb shit at 18 in the forest, Terry going skinny dipping. That is not something I have ever had the fucking inclination to do. Like, even when I was a camp counselor, when I would go hiking, when I do go camping out here, I've never been like, you know what? I'm going to go jump in that lake.
Totally naked.
Yeah, I'm going to take all my fucking clothes off and go jump in that fucking lake. Never, not a single once. Here's a few reasons why. I saw this picture. I saw the other 9 pictures that came after this fucking picture. I also know there's giant sea monsters in the fucking water. Crawdads, whatever the fuck. They're going to eat you. Stay the fuck out of the water. Nothing good ever comes from going skinny dipping. Well, you can get sex.
You can get that other ways too.
Yeah. Like,
all you got to do is steal their clothes.
This scene where fucking Ginny and Paul are making out. She's like, Paul, wait a second. I want to tell you. Have you ever heard of HP? Never mind.
Nope. Keep going. That feels too good.
Doctor says I'm sick and I'm not going to get better. Anyway.
All right, Kevin. Let's get into it. What's bad? Friday the 13th, part 2.
Well, you know what?
Damn it. Him dying.
Crazy Ralph getting garroted out.
Doomsday Ralph. You're all doomed.
Doomed. You know, he could have lasted for like 1 or 2 more pictures.
I think so too.
Like, who's gonna tell the exposition in part 3? There is none. You have to figure it out on your own, and that's why we don't know why he's all lumbering and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Wearing a military jacket.
I would have had him stick around just for like 1 more. He could have had him like kind of escape. Like, he's the harbinger for Jason. He serves as the warning beacon for everybody. Stay away from Cat Blood. You're doomed.
He's just cool. I love Crazy Ralph.
Yeah, Ralph is fine.
But
likes to scare shit out of people, even in his death.
But they don't find his body.
He
But
comes falling out of a closet.
does he?
Yeah,
Is that when Jenny's looking for people?
I think so. Correct us if we're wrong, people. But yeah, he did come flying out of a closet.
Fair enough.
Well, blink and you miss it.
Yes, or get up and go pee and I miss it.
Yeah, that too.
Whichever. The bad to this for me, all seriousness, is the time. The movie has a very short run time.
87 minutes, everybody.
Yeah, Paramount had no love for any of their horror films. They think they are stupid movies for stupid audiences. So they gave them no budget whatsoever. So anytime you'd see one of the old Friday the 13th movies and you're like, oh, that was pretty good, applaud the filmmakers. Applaud the people in it, because they made the best fucking picture they possibly could by having a studio hamstring them every step of the way.
Despite all that bullshit, yes.
Yeah, you only get this much money. We changed our mind. You get that much money. A little bit less than that. Or, you can't show this. You can't show that. We need to have pretty girls, but don't show their titties. Show their titties, but not their nipples. And
then eventually no nudity at all.
Until part 9. No, wait, no, that was...
Yeah.
See, look at this. I see bras.
Hey, probably not sponsored by Disney.
Yeah, right. I don't know. The body count was too short for me, and the timing was too short.
Yeah.
So, because like half the
there were a lot more counselors that didn't get smoked.
Yeah, they all left. Like towards the end of the second act, they're like, "We're gonna go to the bar. Who wants to go?" And half the cast is like, "Yo, all right, you live. Goodbye."
Yep.
Like, okay.
That's how we solve the budget problem here, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah,
you're all good to go drinking for the next 2 days, and then we gotta send you home.
But that also made me realize something, that LL Cool J was not the first black man to survive a horror film. It might have been this gentleman. who didn't even have a name in the fucking movie. You have to look up his name. Jamie Perry.
Let's go, Jamie.
He lived. They gave him the name other counselor in IMDb or additional counselor. It's like, they didn't even give him a fucking name. They didn't even kill him. They didn't give him a name. They didn't give him nothing.
Nope.
Except for those ugly ass suspenders.
I had a pair of those as a kid. I never wore them, but I had a pair.
I did not. But half the kids
early 80s kid here. So
yes, I know. All the cast could have gotten killed. Paul could have gotten killed. You don't see Paul get killed. You hear her crying at the end. Where's Paul? I would have liked to have known.
Well, that's a couple of the logic questions that I know. It's a dumb horror movie, whatever. But this movie will make you ask questions like, why is this like that? Why is that? Why is this happening? What happened with Paul? How did Jason find Alice, track her down, kill her, then bring her all the way back to Crystal Lake? He literally went to a city to kill Alice.
Yeah.
He found exactly where she lives, how to sneak into her house, how to kill her, sneak her back out, get her all the way back to Crystal Lake, and nobody found a goddamn thing. I'm just saying, like, there's some clear plot holes in this that if you're any sort of person who pays attention to plot on even a superficial level, you're gonna notice things like that. And then Paul's not dead at the end. What the hell? Or where is Paul? Paul was killed. What's going on? So just saying, there's a few logic problems with this movie.
A couple.
Just don't think too hard.
No, just enjoy the kills. Enjoy.
Yeah, I literally wrote down what happened to Paul and how did Jason find Alice at the beginning.
You could smell it. Now, that having been said, speaking of you could smell it, I loved Paul's little diatribe about bears being a real thing in the woods.
And if you're menstruating, keep clean, Kevin.
So what's this lady do? She whores it all out with her handicap fetish, and she's like just like throwing herself at the guy in the wheelchair to the point where she's like, what's the game with where they have positions? I want to play for positions. And she
hey, he gets the best parking spaces. What can you say?
Fair enough. But she goes to like sexy herself up.
She's making herself handicap accessible.
She takes off her pants and I'm like, yay! And she's wearing this really nice pair of black underwear. Yay! And she pulls out to take off those black underwear.
Yeah.
Sexier brown pair of underwear.
Nothing screams sexy like brown, baby.
And I'm like, wait, what? Why are you wearing the brown pants?
Wait, she gets it.
And then she goes and does the best thing ever. After Paul says, no perfume, you don't want, change clothes often and keep clean during your menstrual cycle, like you said. So what she do, she goes and sprays a little bit of perfume down in the honey pot.
Yep.
I get it.
Well, sometimes you want to put your hand in the honey pot.
But what if you want to stick your whole face in the honey jar?
Do you want to get a little sticky?
Do you know what perfume tastes like? It tastes like fucking rubbing alcohol. So, like, if he's going to go down there, which, again, you're going to have to, like, get up. Like, I don't want to fall off the chair, but you get my point.
Sexual education with Kevin, everybody.
Tastes like fucking alcohol, and the guy's going to be like...
No, he's going to be acting like Wolverine in Deadpool and Wolverine. I found the rubbing alcohol. Hey, you're not going to want to drink that. Okay, you're going to kill your liver. That's fine. How's that go again, Kevin?
My microphone's all wet. Keep talking to me that way, I will. But I don't know. I mean, like it was funny, and it just kept going on and on and on. And I'm like, please kill her. It took her too long to die.
Yeah, I'll also kind of add, like, there was some little bit of like editing slash pacing issues a couple of times. That's one of those. They could have tightened up the editing with her scenes just to make it feel like it's moving a little quicker along rather than trying to drag it out just to add an extra minute for runtime.
Yeah, like, because she wasn't doing anything incredibly sexy. Like I said, she's putting on
searching her car bent over, Kevin.
That part was okay. I don't know. What was she looking for? Like, was she looking for a flare, a dildo, a light? I don't know what that was. That she
a Mentos. I don't know.
Mentos.
The fresh maker.
Bag of Pop Rocks.
Ooh.
It's got to do something with that alcohol taste. I swear to Christ. Like,
too true.
All it's going to do is make her self-conscious. Like, do I taste bad?
And the honey pot was going a little sour there.
They put vinegar in the honey.
Oh, God.
I don't know how many times we just got turned off. But I don't know. She had a fun death scene. That part took a little longer for me than the cop running through the forest.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though she was wearing no bottoms, which is nice. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't got too much more on the bad, but I do have a thing or two on the ugly.
I could bring up some ugliness. I love the makeup. He looks like Eddie Vedder.
And the one good eye. No, he actually looks like Chunk out of like
Sloth.
Sloth out of Goonies. Yep.
Hey, you guys. We're assholes. If this is your first time tuning in and you're still here,
you got to be new here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for one thing, and two, we are assholes. We don't mean it. It's just our nature.
Goddamn right, pal.
So go ahead.
The makeup effects were okay on this. They get better.
They do. And were the makeup effects not as good? Were they? Do you feel like they were subpar, or that you just didn't get to see the great shots that Tom Savini was bringing in the last film because they weren't edited or rated as hardly?
I don't know. For me, in this particular shot, it just seems a bit on the cheap side, and that's not a bad thing. It's just later on you get some really great prosthetic work going on. I'm going to say this was probably a budget sort of issue, and it's not a terrible look, but it's not ultimately the Jason look that everybody gets to know and love and hate.
Yeah, because this has been around since 1981, but by the time I think it was part 6 or 7 when that came out, Fangoria is like, Jason finally unmasked. It's like,
I remember all that crap. Like, you've never seen his face before. Yeah, we've seen it in every fucking movie until now.
Yeah, it was just that one where he's got like twisted puppeteering faces, and it was cool.
And 5 doesn't count. So, like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that wasn't him at all. So,
yeah. So, but no, like, for the most part, the practical effects are completely outstanding. It's just once you get to this kind of little face reveal scene, it's like, oh, okay, that was a thing. No, it's not a total turn off for me or anything like that as far as like being a horror fan and a Jason face guy, but like it's just not, it doesn't quite work in my opinion. And it doesn't hurt the movie, but it's a bit ugly. What does hurt this movie though is what I'm calling the ugly is all the deleted work. And I want to give a special shout out to Carl, last name Fullerton, visual effects guy. He had a little VHS tape of some of the wonderful death scenes that we had seen on the Scream Factory Blu-ray. Highly recommend everybody go check that out. I don't know if they're on YouTube or not. I haven't looked, but they don't have sound, but they show extended death scenes for a few different deaths, and you can tell the ugly part of this movie is it feels like they were holding back a little bit on the gore and like a little too excessive on the death scenes. I don't think they're excessive, but you can easily see how a studio would be like, y'all are lingering a little too long on a couple shots here. Cut that down. And that's a little too bloody. Cut that out.
We told her to clean up. Oh.
And I'm going to say that about a lot of these movies coming up. Like, they've all been cut to hell, whether it's the studio or the MPAA. Like, these movies have always been hit hard by putting some really cool stuff on the cutting room floor for no goddamn good reason. And now if they thought far enough into the future, and they would find out like 30 years later, hey, people love this uncut footage shit and doing director's cuts. That would have been cool if somebody went back in time and told these motherfuckers about that. Then we could have gotten some really cool movies later on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, like I said, Paramount hates Friday the 13th. They always did.
Yeah.
They don't give it any fucking thought at this point, I'm sure.
No, they were happy to try and grab the cash from it. That was about the extent of it. I mean, the rights have been sold on home video, and then they've come back. You know, New Line got the rights to movies, then Paramount took them back, then, you know, whatever with everything, wherever it is fucking now with Sean Cunningham and his crazy ass.
As far as I knew, it was Warner Brothers still, but
I think it went back to Paramount.
Did it? Skydance, whatever.
Oh god. Oh god, I don't want to think about that shit. They'll even hate it even more.
No shit.
This is why we all have to rely on fan films, everybody. Like Vincente, like with Never Hike Alone. There's the Jason Lives, Jason Rising. There's, you know, Voorhees, you know, Fall of Camp Blood. There's some fun, awesome Friday the 13th fan films out there that are actually pretty damn decent. And I recommend checking those out.
Yes, they are better than any of the sequels after 6.
Never Hike Alone especially stands out because they actually got Tom Matthews back, and he delivers as Tommy in those 2/3 Never Hike Alone sequels. So,
could you imagine if they redid it now, like an actual studio picture, and they're like, Corey Feldman's gonna come back? Like, how many people do you expect to be like, fuck yeah?
There would be people who would be happy to see Corey back, and Corey, I think, loves the fucking franchise and would be happy to come back if they'd ask.
I'm sure.
So,
I'm sure.
yeah, as long as there's a couple zeros on that check instead of single digits.
I don't know, and I love Corey Feldman. Like, he's my Donatello. Don't get me wrong, but
he does great in, you know, the next movie. So
yes, part 4 is fantastic, and I love him in it.
Yeah, I mean part 4, yeah.
But Tom is Tommy to me. Like, Tom became the hero of the whole franchise just in that one movie for me because he was so fucking cool.
Goddamn right.
So,
he had the best job. He had to lay his head down on the lap.
Yeah, I know. Facing the honey pot.
Honey pot. Hashtag.
This one's been in the onion patch. Or it was the cop's daughter, so you could say she ate a lot of pork.
Oink, oink.
Hey, Rick was always after her. But anyway.
That's true. Where the red dot goes, you bang.
Can't wait to watch that again.
Yeah, me neither.
But no, I don't have a whole lot of ugly for this other than the runtime, which apparently coincides with your ugly, which is all the deleted scenes. Because if you add all that shit up, there's your extra 10 minutes.
Just about. I mean, there's probably way more than what Carl had. And you can only just imagine, like you just said, there's probably like 10 to 15 minutes of shit that was cut out that didn't need to be cut out. And if it was still there, they could have cut out things that did need to be removed, actually.
Yeah.
But there's not much I would actually scream about removing other than just to tighten up a couple things for like editing and pacing issues. And that's not even a really big issue for this movie. It's just, it feels like it's missing some things from time to time, and not in like a very bad way. It just feels like, yeah, we went from one thing to the next a little too quick. and then the next thing is a little too long. So it doesn't have that counterbalance of what happened before leading into the next thing and then the next thing.
Yes. One of the scenes I could think of immediately off the top of my head that is an example of that is Paul's speech at the beginning, where Jenny shows up, and then she's going to move her car, and suddenly he's done with his speech and going to fix the car. But he's talking to her like, "Hey, having problems? Like, you just saw me here with the whole fucking thing."
Bingo. Yep.
So yeah, it feels a little weird here and there, but again, once you get to the suspense, the music alone brings the suspense again. And even though you don't see Jason until the end, or maybe at best his boots, the hand model.
Yeah. I'm modeling.
It's still suspenseful and it still works, but it could have been longer for me.
And that is what she said. So, Kevin, final judgment time.
Final judgment is my hypocrisy.
Muffin.
I hate animal cruelty in movies. I do. But when they tell you that a Shih Tzu got eaten, you have my attention. Like, he not cannibalized, but fucking sat there and raw styled ate a Shih Tzu. I'm like, okay, you have my interest piqued.
Well, and they do that in the Halloween movies too, where he kills dogs and eats them and hurts poor German Shepherds. I'm a German Shepherd guy, so.
Yep, just like the T-1000. Dickhead.
Fucker.
Anyway, but no, Muffin survives, and I guess that's supposed to make you feel better. Like it gets the movie an extra point.
She's the harbinger of death. She brings Jason back to life. She's the true villain of this movie.
Makes me think of fucking not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, where the dog pisses fire on Freddy's grave. That would have been a much better ending. But no, I like this film. I like this better than I remember liking it. I like it despite not having what we come to know and love as Jason Voorhees. This is, again, a very, very premature version of him. It's where the mythology really starts to blossom. Next week is when you're going to get to see Jason in all his glory.
That's where they actually figure out the actual formula and the pattern going forward.
Yeah.
Adjustments here and there until it gets completely off the rails, but we're getting there.
It works out well for like a movie or two after this. Otherwise, it's just kind of like, prepackaged more. Ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-chung.
The machine requires sacrifice.
Yes, sacrifice and boobies that we're not going to show you.
But we want to show you.
We're going to make you think we're going to.
Send in them super chats, everybody. Just saying. Not quite monetized yet. YouTube's going to check us out and be like, man, these guys are kind of brutal.
Fuck them.
No.
Oh, golly. You know, I like this picture. Jenny's probably my favorite final girl.
She's one of my favorites, too.
She's the smartest of the bunch. She's not as cute and innocent as Alice was. I don't remember. Do we see her die at the end of the next or the beginning of the next movie?
To be honest, I don't remember. It has been a little while since I've seen these movies, which pains me to say. I usually like to watch these about once a year, but it's been a little while since I've seen them. But yeah, we'll find out in the next one for sure. But I actually don't remember.
Well, if this franchise is new to you, one thing you will truly enjoy that Paramount does do right is they don't take place one after the next, but they recap what happens just prior to you starting this new movie.
Right.
And it works out pretty well. One thing that they do mention, but you don't really drive it home until you've seen it a couple times, is this takes place 5 years after the beginning of the movie itself.
Yes.
But once you see Alice getting killed by Jason, 5 years goes past before the movie begins. So they recap it fairly well, but then...
And 5 years later, That's her
Yeah.
decomposed.
Yeah, so that's I think one of the reasons why I never really quite got that, because everyone else is fresh around her, but she's there as a trophy and even
Mama.
a sacrifice to mom for doing that to mama. It's feeding the beast.
Absolutely. Yeah, I have so much fun watching these movies, and this is definitely a fun movie for me as well. If I was gonna score it, I'd probably go an easy 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, agreed. I'd give this a 7.5. I want to say it got a 6.1, which is really unfair. Because again,
That's better than that.
this is not a stupid, cheesy 80s movie. This is not a forgettable film. It has
No.
characters that you're going to remember. It has a plot that you're going to remember. At least it's got a fight at the end that you're going to remember. It doesn't have much of a plot. But
This is where arguments can develop amongst the fan base about like which one you prefer the best. Like clearly this is an early entry into Jason's little format of what we're going to get. And then 3 and 4 are a bit more polished. 5 is a completely different sort of deal. Then we come back with 6, which is a great movie too. But that, you know,
That
these movies have like
everything.
pros and cons to them. So it really boils down to what's your style of Jason.
Yeah.
And this is a little more of him as a human being, just being psychotic and not dying easy. We haven't gotten supernatural yet. So there's something to be said about this being Jason in kind of normal human form, and just he's not easy to kill.
I like the joke about it that they had in Monster Squad. Didn't he die in the last film? How many
Don't they
times
all
did he
are
die?
supposed to die in the last film? Oh my god. I still say that Jason's best death scene goes to hell in the first 7 minutes.
Yes. Yes. Getting shot to hell and then blown the fuck up.
Yep. Super rad.
They spared no expense with that shit.
Hell no. But now I get a kick out of watching this, and I'm happy to be firing these bad boys up again for the first time in a while. So, Kevin, you ready for part 3 next week?
I am. I'm super stoked for this one.
It's one of my favorites. So,
all right, dude. I love this franchise too. This is again. This might be what we talked about where this would rate. I can't say it's my favorite. 6 is my favorite, but this is up there just because, like I said, it's not Camp Blood. It's outside of that. They went outside of the box a little bit and started building this wonderful mythology.
Yeah, and I totally appreciate that too. That's one of the things I really like about this, and how this movie always gets referenced in some of the other Jason movies, whether they're a complete tie-in or they're not. There's always something to be said about how this one fits in the universe, and it's a great start to what is essentially a very fun franchise. And like I said, you know, everybody's got their favorite sequels, but nobody has ever said like this second one is one of the worst. You just won't hear that from people.
No.
Is it my absolute favorite? No, but it doesn't mean I don't absolutely love this movie and have a fun time watching it every single time. And Amy Steele, you are fantastic, lady. Just saying.
I don't think I dislike any of them. Like I hear 1, 5, and 9 is shit, and they're not shit.
1 is just a completely different kind of style movie. 5 is a completely different movie entirely. It's just somebody pretending to be Jason the whole fucking time. And wait, 9 goes to hell, right?
Yeah. So it's his spirit in other people.
Yeah, that's when they were getting a little, that was New Line era is what that was in my eyes. So it's like they are getting a bit goofy with the concept, but it did give us the great ending shot of Freddy Glove pulling the Jason mask down to later tease a Freddy versus Jason, which we would probably have to wait many, many years for.
Yeah, like 12 years forward.
Which ended up being fine. I enjoy the movie, but it's not exactly what a lot of us wanted.
No, it needed more violence.
Yes. But that being said, thank you everybody for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button down below. Got any comments about this movie? Hey, we want to hear about it. So please put them down below. Hit that subscribe button and little bell notification so you can stay tuned to all of our video content. This is Jason's month for us. Friday the 13th is abound. We're going to be doing part 3, part 4, and part 6. October, we're going to have a couple fun extra little entries going on. But also on our podcast, we're going to be doing Friday the 13th, the TV series. So be staying tuned for that. And we will see you all. Ooh, nice, Kevin. You actually have the box set.
I shilled.
And we'll put a link down below. So if you don't have that show, we'll have some Amazon affiliate links down below. Amazon only kicks you a few cents back. But if you do, we'd appreciate it. If not, hey, that's cool too. You all have a good time, and we will see you next time. Kill, kill.